Hey, you folks, this is Brian. Jason and I taped this for another podcast as part of a series. Unfortunately, we missed their deadline, so we didn't want to throw out good content, and we had a lot of fun doing this one, so we thought you guys would appreciate it. I also wanted to do kind of a quasi-experimental YouTube video with it, so I hope you enjoy our look at the Starlog 1980 Merchandise Guide. Hey, everybody, I'm Brian.
And I'm Jason.
And we host a show called Stallions. And we were asked by the good folks at
Mr. Black
to look at the fourth annual Starlog Science Fiction Merchandise Guide from 1980 to 1981, a yellow pages directory of dealers, products, services, distributors, and manufacturers and craftsmen. This was the internet.
Pretty much.
A 10-year-old kid who's really interested in science fiction merchandise. So I think we should just pour through it. I mean, the front page is awesome. It's got Kenner Star Wars. And Jason, I'm not ashamed to admit I owned every single item on that page.
Now, are we okay? Because I'm paging through it. I'm just savoring the cover.
Oh, page 34. It shows the cover is the page 35 is what we want to look at. 35. That is the merchandise guide insert. You know what? I got to look and see if I had this issue as a kid.
Yeah, I was just going to ask before we even this was a thing you could just, I don't seem to recall this unless I had it and I'm drawing a blank. I used to do the scrapbooks.
Me too. Yeah, and I used to love the Starlog Annual, but I didn't have this particular issue. I think I did have another issue that had the merchandise guide, but it was, it was a brilliant little insert because.
You know what? I had the one that had Power Lords in it and
the
Troll game and stuff like that. That I recall, but I don't think I had this one. But yeah, I had all those figures. I did not have the ships because I wasn't a rich kid. No, I'm kidding. I didn't have much in the way of ships, but I had all the figures for sure.
Yeah. I remember those figures. That was, I think, might have been the first wave of Empire Strikes Back figures. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it was because the Hoth Han was the first one. I'll never forget the day of it's happened with several toy lines I can think of, from childhood when you suddenly came around the corner at whatever store and there they were and you went, whoa, I've never seen these. And coming around to the end cap, I think it was probably Target or one of those stores, and seeing Hoth Han. Because it really was just about the first image that I'd seen for Empire. And, you're like, oh my, it's winter. He's wearing a coat. Why is he, what's going on? You didn't know much about it because it was, I don't know how many months before the movie came out. But I think it was the first two non early bird kit figures I got on the card were Han Solo and C-3PO in 78.
Right. Yeah.
And so with this batch, I think I know I got the Han and I think I got the Snow Trooper. Those were my two gets that day.
Yeah, I probably would have gone for the winter ones myself because Canadian.
Right.
But I'm not sure. I remember I sent away for Bosk. He was a big deal.
Bosk. That
Lizard men characters in general still are something of a priority for me as a collector. So, but Bosk was a big deal. So yeah, those are some old friends. But the inside is mainly a directory. And the first thing I want to mention is this is something that has kind of disappeared in fandom to a larger degree, and that is the collecting of blueprints.
Oh yeah.
That was a big deal back then.
It was
collecting blueprints of vehicles and weapons, and
it was the kind of thing that Random House and the like would do with a license, and you'd have a making of book or a art book or something, and then those blueprints would roll out. I think there were Star Trek ones for the TV series, if I recall.
Oh yeah. There was. I remember they released ones for Star Wars that never sold.
Yeah,
and were in my bookstore until I was 30.
Yeah.
And there was a Battlestar Galactica set, and there was a Space 1999 technical manual I recall that was very expensive through Starlog. And I guess that, it was the kind of thing we like, which is details. And
I just did. We've talked about my love of Blade Runner many times on our show. But doing these YouTube things, doing the Plastic Soul videos, I did one about Blade Runner and how little merchandise there was. But
yeah.
there was a fan club kit, which I hunted for. I never got as a kid. I always wanted it. There's an ad in the back of the official movie magazine. Never got it. Finally came across it, just about 5 years ago. Like I'd never found it. I thought it just never got made. And I managed to find 2 kits in the span of about a month. Each were missing something, which made a complete kit basically. But in the magazine ad, the earliest orders that came in got an extra bonus, which was a blueprint of the spinner, of the police spinner car from Blade Runner. And one of the kits had the blueprint. So even up to 82, it still seemed to be kind of a thing that blueprints were attractive.
I guess the internet kind of killed them. Like now you can just look up schematics and that sort of thing. But yeah, that was such a big collectible. And there's a name there attached to blueprints that we both know, which is Intergalactic Trading Company in Longwood, Florida.
Oh my God. And they're still going.
A place I've been to, and it did not disappoint.
No, those catalogs were, if I remember, they were newspaper style. Like they were, and just loaded with stuff. They always had a surplus of the Star Trek the Motion Picture phaser squirt gun, I remember.
Yes.
And the Spock Canter. They always
had. Who made that? South Bend? I can't remember who made that squirt gun.
South Bend. No, well, South Bend maybe did the electronics.
Yeah, okay. I can't remember who made the squirt gun.
Yeah. But it was always in there, and the Spock decanter from Motion Picture. They seem to have that right through the early 90s.
I think they still have it.
Whole warehouse full of them.
There's another name in here too that just makes me smile, which is TK Graphics. I know you and I both sent away for their stickers, and they were a printer.
Well, I didn't understand. First off, I would not have remembered the name to save my life.
I remember it well because I bought so much stuff from them.
But they would do signs for your bedroom door, like a cardboard sign, sticker sets, and I didn't really understand maybe that it wasn't totally official.
Oh, I did.
But it was like, you'd see one that was like, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, stickers, and you go, okay, I'm getting that one. I'm getting that batch of things or whatever. But yes, I would order from them occasionally, and they were great. They were that was that. Talk about the early fandom. That's like the bumpers. I break for Vulcans, those kind of things.
Oh yeah. I probably still have that sticker on something of the Daleks can't get into their spaceship because there's stairs.
Right.
And,
that's right.
The other name on here, I'm just kind of going through all the people I recognize, is Tally Ho Studios.
Oh, Tally Ho.
Yeah.
Oh,
Canton, Ohio.
Name? Do you remember her name?
No, I don't. I remember she was eclectic.
She was eclectic, and I would call her because in the early 90s, she still had Star Wars stuff still, and she had I'm trying to think of specifically what I would sort of get from her. I think it was James Bond stuff. She would occasionally get some of the British Lone Star James Bond pieces, and she really knew Bond. She really knew the history of Lone Star.
Even mentioned in the ad, James Bond, Doctor Who, The Prisoner, Star Wars, Star Trek, Bruce Lee, Clint Eastwood.
There you go. And she'd answer the phone like, "Hello, Tally Ho."
Yeah, I remember that.
That's how she'd answer. Yeah. And she was just, I forget her name, but she was just so sweet. And she knew her stuff for sure. Wow, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
And there's one in here too. I just flipped the page, and this one changed my life. It is a company called The Back Issue. And it was a guy out of New Jersey. His name actually, I believe his last name is Henkel. And I think it was Dave or Robert, or I think there was both of them. And he was a monster guy, but he also did toys.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the first guy I ever did a trade with. Like I went down to my local variety store when I was 14 or 15, and I said, "This is what the store has." And he went, "I'll give you 70, or I think he said, I'll give you $50 for that Planet of the Apes kit, that Soldier and Stallion kit." So I went down and bought it for like, $8. And I mailed it to him, and he said, "You have $50 credit with me. What do you want?" And I looked through his list of, because he had this little black and white list that I had memorized. And there was Space 1999 action figures from the UK. And I said, "I'll take Captain Xantor," because he was the cheapest one. And I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what they were going to look like. And when I got it, it was Amigo, and here I am.
Wow.
So that is a real blast from the past. And yes, I am 100% who I am because of this ad.
Oh my God.
Well, I'm a collector because of that ad.
That's a story. What a great story.
Yeah. So you're getting a bonus here. And on this page is also the die-cast Slave 1, I guess, which is no longer called that. And
yes,
I had that. I loved it. What a cool ass ship! It looks like a waffle iron, but it's amazing.
It's still one of the best designs in the history of those movies, I think.
Yeah.
It's an insane design. But do you remember, these ads make me think of oh my gosh, you could probably, I bet if you said the name of the people, I'd remember. But there was one that had a lot of model kits, but they were specifically, I would send away for Captain Scarlet figure kits. Like there was
it was that Star Trek?
I think it was that sounds right, because they had Gundam, and they had like Robotech, and they had.
I used to trade videotapes with that guy. He was like the comic book guy. He had like everything. He had this amazing collection. He was a nice guy.
And it was a pretty good catalog, because it would, it was back when someone made a catalog. Like the Intergalactic one was an issue of Vogue compared to most of the catalog. They were just photocopied in listings and an occasional photo. Intergalactic had a lot of photos in the catalog, but that StarTech one, it was 95% listings, and then every now and then a photo on the side.
Yeah,
and
sounds
I
right.
First Captain Scarlet model kit, which I kind of thought, look, it's like, the Japanese, they make kits.
Those are the Imai ones, right?
I think so. And it was you had to, it was like a standard, plastic, that standard type of plastic, punch the things out and use an X-Acto and everything. But I kind of thought they were action figures. I thought, well, this is as close as I'm going to get right now. And so I'd order a couple and then just make them into kits. But I would order some of the Japanese stuff that he had, some of those characters too.
And now I want to ask you this question, because you're a Los Angeles native.
Well, at this point, just about, yeah.
Yeah. There's a bookstore listed here, A Change of Hobbit, on 1371 Westwood Boulevard. Still there?
No, but I wish it was. Wow. So it was probably in Westwood, like near the. No, definitely not. I would have gone at this point. That's amazing. Does it say what, because I can't really see it. I can't really read the.
Oh yeah, no, it says, it doesn't have a lot to say. It just says it's a bookstore.
Great name.
Yeah, Change of Hobbit. I love it. I've gone on to the page that Starlog is now hawking their own merch, and every single one of these ads is like, you know how you stare at a light too long, and when you close your eyes, you can still see the light.
Yeah.
I've stared at all these ads so much. You've got the Japanese back issues of Starlog, which I don't know if you've ever owned any of those, but obviously you can't read anything in Japanese, but they are bananas laid out. They are crazy laid out. I have a few issues, and just as a designer, I love looking at those, because it's such a throw everything out the wall and make it more of a visual guide, and then the Starlog Communications Handbook, the book every science fiction must have that I never did, and just trying to think what else is here.
I don't know why I never ordered a T-shirt. Oh, that's right. I remember why. Because I'd have to be very careful where I wore my
Yeah.
It's
not
like
you were too out and proud of your Starlog love.
Yeah. No, going to the mall, and like I've told this story on our show where my mom and I would go to the mall, like Rosedale Mall in Minnesota. And, you know, when I think about this too, it's like, you wouldn't do this with kids today. I was like 11 or 12 or something, but it was like we'd separate at a certain part of the mall and be like, okay, I'll meet you back here in 2 hours at the pizza place or whatever. And she'd go off and shop, and, you know, no cell phone. I think I had maybe a digital watch to know what time it was or something. But I'd head over to B. Dalton and Walden Books. I would check both places for the Pinnacle Doctor Who books that came, and then the Target ones, which they slowly started to kind of have, you know, or an Edgar Rice Burroughs thing or something. But mainly was to go and get the new issue of Starlog. And there was a certain angle that you'd come at the store from, and there was the magazine rack, and you could see the new issue of Starlog from, you know, 50 feet away kind of thing. And there's just certain covers, when you just said that, ingrained, you know, close your eyes.
Yeah.
Like the first Return of the Jedi cover, which was, you know, Han and Luke and Leia and 3PO in the cockpit of the shuttle Siderium. And seeing that photo was the first photo, you know, I went, oh, so Han's going to be okay. Like, he gets out of the car. Like, that's the only way I really knew what was going to happen to him. Like, okay, so he's definitely okay. But it was a new photo from me. But I'd see the cover from 50, 60 feet away, and my pace would quicken just to get this. But then it would go in the brown paper bag, and I would sort of hold it behind my back and walk through the mall in case I ran into, you know, a lovely young lady that I happen to know. Like, what you got? Oh, just Newsweek. I picked up Newsweek.
Newsweek, yeah. Cat Fancy.
And Wall Street Journal. That's all. But it was one of those things. The other thing about this, with the T-shirt thing here in the back, it reminds me of, I just saw on Shudder, the streaming service Shudder, they did the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards.
Oh yeah.
And you know, it's very, very minimalist, and everybody's kind of, you know, sending in their videos, thanks for this award kind of thing. And they gave, I think the Best Director award was to Edgar Wright for Last Night in Soho. And so he did a little video, thank you. And he said, you know, thanked everybody, and I'm so excited to have this. But he said, I have to just tell you how important Fangoria has been to me throughout my life. He said, I remember always looking in the back of the magazine and getting a magnifying glass to study the covers that were, you know, the photos of them that were in the back of the magazine, to try to figure out what was going to be in the issue if I tried to find or order a previous. And I'm like, oh my God, he's so one of us.
Oh yeah. That,
you know,
I remember doing that with my dad. My dad had a photocopier at our house for a while. And I would try to blow up ads and pictures to get a better look of it, you know, with this 1982 photocopier.
That's so great. Because there are things that you saw. I mean, you and I, you know, we truly have a love for this magazine. I mean, there were things that you saw, or that I, speaking for myself, that I saw in the magazine that I can safely say would have been the first time I knew that thing existed, or sort of discovered. Like, I knew of the Avengers, the you know, John Steele series.
Yeah.
I knew of it. I'd see it occasionally. It would pop up on things, but I didn't really know what it was until I started to see articles or ads in the back of Starlog. There was always an ad for, you know, spy themes or something, and it had Steed and Peele on the cover of the record. And it was just such a gateway drug. So much of Starlog was, you know, turned you on to.
Well, case in point, years and years ago, I met Robert Clark. So I was probably like 20 years old when I met him. And he was in the movie The Hideous Sun Demon. And I got his autograph, and he was a really nice man. And then I realized, you know, I've never seen The Hideous Sun Demon. It was just always in the back of Starlog. being sold as a like a Super 8 film. And, I'd read that synopsis a million film. And, I'd read that synopsis a million times. So that just things like that.
That's so great. It's because it was. I mean, obviously, there's no way to not sound like we're talking about the old days of old time radio or something. But truthfully, it was like, you really had to hunt for these things. Like if you did understand what the Avengers was or something, you couldn't just find. You had to wait until it sort of showed up or find a book or.
But speaking of old time radio, did Fibber McGee ever clean that closet?
No, but Molly never got off his back. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. What's that about? And then you've got poster books, and I always find this funny because you've got such genre subjects as Moonraker, Salvage One, still available. Superhero pinups, which there's 2 of them.
Salvage
and then
One.
You've got Rocky 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were so hungry,
Yeah.
Like Salvage One poster magazine. How many dozens of that could they have?
How many can I put you down for, Jason?
Could they have sold? The poster magazine I always think of as a uniquely. I've always thought of it as a uniquely American thing.
British people do it too.
It always for the longest time I thought, well, this is just an American thing, like a quick way to make another quick, a little bit of information on one side and then open it more information. Then there's the poster, because we were so poster crazy in the 70s and stuff. And then when I discovered many years later that there was a Doctor Who poster magazine, which I have a copy of, which a unique art on the poster. But I think I knew of it because, have you ever seen the footage of Tom Baker when he visits those kids in Ireland? He goes to that school.
Yeah, and hands out I actually talked to a guy who saw that.
And in there, he's signing copies of the poster magazine. And that's when I first knew that it existed, kind of.
Oh, okay.
And eventually found it in an auction, along with like the Press Out and Make It book, which is insane. But it was, they seem to make a poster magazine for just about everything.
And then you've got the Starlog yearbook, which I've never owned, science fiction yearbook, Star Trek greeting cards, which I think they had forever. The Space 1999 notebook, a blueprint package. We just talked about that. They were still selling that in 1980. $10. I should have bought that.
$10. Wow, is that a lot?
Starship Enterprise pendant, which you could actually, I think, wasn't that in Cat's Paw?
Still have it. Still wear it.
Yeah. You know what's really weird is I went through my dad's samples once when I was 10.
Mm-hmm.
And in his box of samples that people had given him was a Star Trek medallion. And I was the dumbest idiot ever and wore that to school.
You say idiot. I say stud.
Oh, yeah.
Medallions were big.
Yeah, they were.
The Heroes...
Kirk and Spock medallions, not as much.
But the Heroes World catalog, like there were Marvel and DC ones. There were a ton of them.
But the guy who wears Conan.
The Conan one. There was a Conan. That's right. And like, who's getting these? Like, who's wearing the medallion thing? Like, that's
it's weird. They're like grown-up products for something that wasn't as widely accepted by grown-ups as it is now.
What I thought was you could order it as a medallion, or you could order it as a coin.
Yeah.
You could order it separately as a coin if you just wanted to kind of flash that out of your pocket instead of being the stud muffin on the playground with your medallion.
So the last couple things on this before we wrap up is the official Battlestar Galactica books, the Encyclopedia Galactica, the Galactica Iron-On transfer book. I think I've had the Galactica Encyclopedia Galactica. Again, you can buy their scrapbook and blueprints for $4.99. This is obviously, I remember the blueprints sitting in a bookstore as well. But yeah, Galactica merchandise, it sold brightly, but not for a long time. And the last thing that they are offering in this magazine is something that I hope is on your wrist right now, Jason. The official Close Encounters watch.
Let me tell you something. Of anything in these ads, I'm having that. I'm having the Close Encounters watch.
Gimme.
That's the one I'm taking because there was so little merchandise made for that. I didn't even know this existed until I'm seeing this in this photo. And I've said this before on our show, and now we can just open it up to the world or the podcast itself. I swear there's an ad in an issue of Starlog that is for you remember how everything was like, they made things out of that white metal or that, not lead, but like little metal figures or a little metal version of the Enterprise or something. And there was a little diorama made of metal that was Devil's Tower with the mothership. I remember seeing this in Starlog, like an ad that you could mail away for this thing. I have not been able to find any proof of it anywhere. So maybe this is the, what do you call them? The Mandela effect or something. I'm thinking I saw one thing and it was something else maybe.
Could be.
But that was something I think of with Starlog, was Close Encounters. And also the ad that was always in Starlog forever. Do you remember the Star Trek blooper?
Yes. Yeah.
And there was a vinyl record.
Yeah. Which had to be kind of tough to listen to.
Could never figure that out.
Found in a garbage can. Remember that? It was always like advertised like that.
I could never figure out how you would listen to that record, like what was on the album, because it must
have just been bumping their line.
Yeah.
And you take your Mego dolls and hold them a certain way.
Right.
So that's been our look at the Starlog 1980 merchandise guide. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you like what you hear, we do have a show called Pod Stallions, and you can find us on YouTube and iTunes and all other places that you get quality podcasts.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys.